I guess that's where I want it. So I need to find something to watch first. So we're gonna go over here. And just search through here really quick. I feel like, oh, this is what I was gonna put on first.
Does your internet bill keep getting higher?
Oh
That's
my
because
God,
promo pricing
an
is
ad
full
right
of
away.
surprises.
Kind of
At Google
low-key
Fiber,
not
there's
even
no
something
install
that
fees, no nonsense. It's the same price every month. Visit fiber.google.com to get the same price we've offered since 2012.
Had my agenda pulled up somewhere else. I guess I can keep that stuff.
Spoons, they're out. Panera's new ciabatta
Oh my
dippers
God,
are
is
in.
it just
Each
me, or
melty
I just
sandwich
don't
paired with a
understand
perfect
why
portion of soup is
has
made to dip.
so many ads
All right,
now?
joining us now, we
I feel like
welcome
YouTube
House
has so many
Majority
more ads
Leader
than it
Steve
used to.
Scalise of Louisiana. Welcome him back to the show, Mr. Scalise. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
and then I'll send
I
you-
want to talk to you about, reconciliation and taxes and fun things like that. But I got to ask you, the single hottest story in the country right now are all these drones flying over New Jersey. And no one knows. The Defense Department doesn't know what they are, who they are. And you remember when we had the Chinese spy balloon last year, the Defense Department said not to worry, there's no intelligence problem. And they said that all the way until they shot it down over the coast of South Carolina. Do you know anything about this drone story in New Jersey?
Well, Larry, good to be with you. Not much beyond what you've mentioned, but, it does harken back to the Chinese spy balloon when we were lied to. Obviously, a lot of us were raising alarms when it was over Alaska. They could have shot it down over many places in Alaska where there were no people around, and it wouldn't have caused any problems to us. It would have protected America's national security.
I should have
And
already had
Biden
all of this
and his
stuff
administration
opened up,
lied and said, don't worry, it's not doing anything anyway. It's not communicating with China. That all turned out to be false, and they went over every one of our major military bases. What is happening in New Jersey? We haven't gotten real candid information from the administration. It seems like they're just MIA on so many issues, but it causes more concern knowing how aggressive China's gotten.
Okay, I opened
and
up
look,
the wrong thing.
help
That
is
was
on
the
the way in
problem.
just a few weeks when Donald Trump becomes president, but this is outrageous.
You don't suppose, sir, in the Christmas season that these are Christmas.
You said over, it's hard to hear me? I should probably turn it down right here then.
Christmas-related angels coming down
That should
to
be
help
better.
the
I
citizens
hope.
of New Jersey escape from Governor Phil Murphy's
then let's
socialism,
see.
do you?
Well, they need escape from that socialism, Larry, but I don't know if Santa's employed drones now to help him with, the elves and the reindeer. But look, I've had friends that we're going to go shoot the thing down ourselves, and by the way, they would. They'd be much more successful than the Biden administration. But it shouldn't come to this
it's not
kind
even
of
like
ridiculousness where
turned up that
American
much,
citizens
it's
may
like
actually
dinging,
do
like
more
I'm
than
pressing a
the federal
button and
government
I'm
and
not
Department of
pressing.
Defense. But this is our national security that's at risk. So it's not a
Man,
joking matter,
fall in there. Okay,
and the
anyways.
administration seems to treat it that way.
Yeah. By the way, it's not personal with Phil Murphy, whom I know personally, and I think he's a lovely man. But I do not agree
that
with
better,
his blue
though?
state policies.
Just the
Anyway,
policies,
that's
right.
right.
Okay.
Let us move on. I'm sure you know Phil Murphy. He's a lovely person. It's just the blue state policies. Anyway, moving along. I just want to talk to you. You've worked for a year or so about a big bang reconciliation bill that would have the Trump policies, Trump tax cuts, Trump spending cuts, Trump energy reforms, Trump border closings, Trump defense spending, and so forth. Now it is said by some that there's going to be
I
two
think I already
reconciliation
picked, like, the thing
packages,
that I
which
wanna do for
disturb
my
me.
agenda.
But a little birdie told me, somebody
this
on the
year, but
inside told me,
basically just gonna
hang on a
use
second,
whatever, like,
Senator
images and stuff that I
Thune, bless
find
him,
on,
and Steve Miller, my very good
Google.
friend, may be getting out over the top of their skis, and that Mr. Trump himself has not made a decision on one reconciliation bill such as you were looking at earlier, or two.
The reconciliation bill, what is that exactly? Trump's reconciliation bill? Is that what they were just talking about? I don't even know how to spell that, to be perfectly honest. Is this it? I don't think this is it. I don't know.
Is that possible? The actual decision has not yet been made by the new president-elect.
Well, I think your birdies are, tweeting you some good information. But look, I started talking to President Trump, as you and I mentioned, about this almost a year ago. And, talking about if we win the trifecta, get the House, Senate, and White House, what we could do to make sure we're on the same page starting in January, not making the mistakes of 2017 where we lost months being in disagreement, where we're all on the same page in January. And President Trump was right there
My cat
every step of the way. Obviously,
my other cat just go to the freaking bathroom. Adina. Let me see if I can distract her really quick. There she goes.
Some ideas of his own that we incorporated in to what our first 100-day agenda will be. And so now we're at a point, we're having a lot of meetings to determine the actual mechanics of it, okay? We're not in disagreement over what we're going to do. We're going to do great energy policy that you will love, border security, lowering food costs, rules and regulatory reform, as well as ensuring there's no massive tax increase, which means holding the line, locking in the Trump tax cuts, and then going further on some other things. We're in agreement on all of that. It's, one bill versus two. We're having the discussions about it because there are pros and cons on both approaches. Maybe only one approach has been out there in the public, but both approaches, we've got to remember, you go back to the last reconciliation in 2017 that created Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which you were such a great champion of and so involved in when you were in the White House. That second reconciliation bill started with a second budget. And, as you'll recall, 20 Republicans voted against that budget. We still got it over the finish line because we had a larger majority. We won't have the luxury of 2 Republicans voting against that budget if we're even going to be able to start the budget reconciliation. So, those margins are really tight. That factors in as well.
That bothers me. I mean, to me, that adds to the risk. What happened that thing passed virtually the last day of December of 2017. Yeah. It was almost like a Hail Mary pass with 2 seconds left on the clock, throwing it into the end zone and hoping for the best.
And it won the game. It transformed America's economy.
Yes.
I mean, look, middle and lower income families tremendously benefited from President Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Kevin Brady was the author of the bill. He and I talked about it a lot, how it transformed this country, but also created new startups, women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses that saw success like they've never seen before.
Okay,
Let's
so
go
after this,
create more opportunity and wealth for families, especially low and middle income families who are struggling. And there's so much uncertainty with so many of those tax cuts set to expire next year. Let's remove the uncertainty. Let's lock it in, help spur more economic growth, and more money, most importantly, in the pockets of hardworking families.
Yes, I mean, tax-free cash tips and tax-free overtime and lower
tax on tips,
lower tax rates for individuals, middle-class individuals. I mean, I just don't want us to play Russian roulette right to the last minute this year. That's why I want him to do it now, right away, now. And by the way, last point, I'm the producers are yelling at me, but last point, Steve Scalise. Look, Mr. Trump, he's going to be wielding his tariff tool, okay? And I think he has to. I mean, there's so much unfair trading, and we're letting China and many other countries get away with murder. Their tariffs are way higher than our tariffs, okay? But it would be good to have a tax cut cushion before Mr. Trump comes in with the tariffs. And that's what we did. Remember, the tariffs came in 2018, the tax cuts came in 2017. That's another reason why.
I think it's really funny that he brought up that, other people, I guess he said China's tariffs are, way higher than, it sounded like to me at least, either what ours are now or what Trump is proposing, who cares? Why I don't know, it kind of sounds like he's trying to be like, oh, well, like, it's not even that bad because it's like it's way higher over there, like, in comparison. But, like, whatever.
Yeah.
But, like,
I'd like to see the tax cuts get done this winter, if at all possible.
Want it to be, like, super high.
As early as we can, it helps boost the economy. It'll give so much certainty to people that are really nervous. Rightfully so. You know, Kamala, we all know she wanted to raise taxes. President Trump wants to keep those rates low. But, you know, with a very, very tight margin, it's going to be on Congress. And we want to go deliver. Let's go get these big wins for the American people. Get them done early. And, you know, and then move on and tackle more problems. There are a lot of problems to solve. But we can get a lot of them. Big reforms that'll benefit hardworking families, lower inflation, secure our border, all in those first 100 days.
All right, terrific. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, thank you, sir. Happy holidays. We appreciate it.
If you give me 20 seconds, I will guarantee that you sign 20 clients. How? Well, I'm going to help you use the exact same system that helped me sign 2,500 high-ticket clients in the last 4 years. I know you might not believe me, but just give me a second. I'll explain exactly how it works. Hey, my name's Charlie Morgan. That's my face. This is my company. We're an 8-figure company with a 20-person headcount, and we help agency owners, coaches, and consultants systemize and scale their client acquisition. And I'm going to make you an offer, plain and simple. I'm going to help you sign 20 new high-ticket clients, full-pay clients, in the next 180 days. And if it doesn't work and you don't get 20, I will give you all of your money back and send you $5,000.
That's what they were talking about at first. Okay, and we should watch this one next. Let me go ahead and add this to watch later.
The president-elect has started sketching out some of his immigration policies. It happened in a new interview. So his pledges continue for mass deportations of criminals here illegally as promised. His promises didn't stop there.
You promised to end birthright citizenship on day one. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
The 14th Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born in the United States are citizens. Can you get around the 14th Amendment with an executive action?
We're going to have to get a change. We'll maybe have to go back to the people, but we have to end it.
I just want to stop it right there, just for myself, just for 2 seconds, and go ahead and say to anybody who thinks that, like, oh, it's not going to be that bad, oh, maybe he's not going to do what he thinks he's going to do, like, literally what he just said was literally so insane. Just in case anybody, like, doesn't know, because maybe you don't know, what they mean by that is they want to take away citizenship from people who are literally, like, born here just because, like, their parents are immigrants. At least that's what it sounded like to me. That's a lot of people, by the way. Like, what does that even mean? Does that mean... Okay, let's just keep watching.
Joining us in our fifth seat, Christina Jimenez, co-founder of United We Dream, a nonprofit immigrant advocacy organization here in the U.S. Christina, can you get your reaction to how the president-elect tried to parse some of these other policies beyond the mass deportations?
Well, I think I just want to remind everyone that when he and the future administration is talking about their immigration policy, they are talking about separation of families and going after anyone that they can get a hold to for deportation. I know.
But also, since, like, this is what they're talking about in this video, I would like to go ahead and bring up the point before we get really into it. Like, being deported isn't, like, I don't really know if a lot of people understand what being deported actually means. Like, they don't just, like, pick you up and take you to wherever they think you're from and then drop you off and leave. You go to, like, you're detained first. You're put in, like, jail first. And these are not, like, cozy, comfy, like, nice conditions. Like, this is like kids in cages type shit, which like has been going on for a while. It's obviously not just like a Trump problem. It's an American problem because it was happening under Obama too. Obviously it's still been happening, so it happened under Biden as well. But just wanted to go ahead and throw that one out there.
I know this because I was formerly undocumented. I have a brother who's a DACA recipient. And I know this because I was working with immigrant communities in his first administration. And so I know that under the disguise of going after people that have committed crimes, they use a frame of criminality to go after everyone. Under the past administration with Trump, DACA recipients were deported. Families were separated not only at the border, as people came here seeking refuge, but also in the interior of the United States. So we're talking about children, families, and I think that we need to take this seriously.
Scott, I want to come to you because I do find it interesting that during his first term, the president did engage in this family separation policy as a deterrent, right? It was like, don't come here because this will happen. And now when asked this question about families with mixed status, he didn't talk about separation, right? He was like, basically, maybe everyone should go. Do you think that reflects some kind of like, I don't know, shift after that first experience and the first...
And that's the thing too. Like when they say like everybody needs to go, like that doesn't even make sense, because like just because, like, let's take a fake scenario. Just because, you know, somebody's mom is illegal, that doesn't mean they know anything about Mexico, for instance, or even know how to speak Spanish. Like, or like people who are here like because they're dreamers. Like,
term.
Yeah, I thought his answers on that and on really everything else on the immigration portion of the interview were eminently reasonable, fit with his campaign promises, are politically popular, and showed some pragmatism even on the dreamers issue. He talked about finding a solution for the dreamers and an overall immigration deal. But make no mistake, the immigration platform that he laid out in the campaign is popular. People want him to do something about it. The family separation issue, I mean, he clearly said he doesn't want to separate families. So I think what he's laying out, Republicans...
Yeah, he doesn't want to separate families. He just wants to deport the entire fucking family. No big deal. It doesn't matter, like, if they, like, have literally made their lives here. It doesn't matter that would essentially be making millions of people like have to start over again from scratch.
Are going to support it. You may even get a few Democrats to support it if it is a comprehensive deal, which the American people desperately want.
Hillary, you're shaking your head a bit, and I know that for Democrats, the whole conversation around dreamers, undocumented young people who are brought here on their own, it's just been this like kind of long-running saga. Can you talk about like what is the kind of Democratic argument about this point if Republicans believe they have a mandate to take this level of action?
Well, I think Democrats should be and have been sort of much more moderate about this. Yes, asylum needs much more scrutiny, and there are significant numbers of undocumented workers where people are worried that there is criminality, but those people are actually identifiable. That does not require the sweep that I think people are legitimately afraid of. Also, I think what he didn't say was almost as important as what he did say. He seemed to imply that naturalized citizens don't belong in the United States. And then I thought, well, sorry, dude, aren't you married to a natural?
That's kind of funny, actually. Yeah, isn't his wife isn't even from here. I don't know what happened to my video, but his wife
Uber made a big mistake, allegedly not doing thorough enough background checks on its drivers.
Funny.
And now...
Is Melania and her father, are they all of a sudden not legitimate Americans?
I don't think that's true.
Well,
I think
no. I'm sorry. When you talk about birthright and citizenship, that's kind of what people are thinking all day.
His priorities were clear. People with deportation orders, violent criminals.
Because that's exactly what it sounds like. That is exactly what it sounds like.
That's where they're going to start.
It sounds like they're going to deport people who were born here because they're related to immigrants. That's what it fucking sounds like. Because that's what it sounds like.
And that is really popular.
That's where they should end. I totally agree with that.
There's a lot of fear-mongering going on about that.
I just think that we need to, I do think we need to look at not only what he's saying, but what he did. Like, there's a track record. Actions speak louder than words. They went after everyone in the last administration. So I just don't think we need to fall for that trap. And on the point about, DACA recipients, my brother is a DACA recipient. I was, formerly undocumented, part of the Dreamer movement that was able to win DACA under the Trump administration. And when we engage in very credible bipartisan efforts to pass legislation, what did Trump do? He killed every single bipartisan deal. And the last one, let's remember, he killed it by using language I will not use here to refer to Black and brown immigrants when we were talking about immigration policy.
What we do hear are Democrats talking about we need to be more moderate, they will say, right? We need to talk in different ways about immigration. We need to be tougher on immigration. That kind of we need to language I'm hearing from Democrats a lot. Where does that leave an activist like yourself in the middle of this discussion?
For me, I think that we need to have a real conversation about the immigration system and the laws that we need. And quite frankly, I'm not going to be here to also defend where Democrats have gone wrong on this issue. Our movement is actually quite independent, and we have been on opposite side with Democrats as well. But the thing here is that this is about a conversation, to your point about birthright citizenship, about who gets to be an American and the soul of this country. And when we're talking about taking away birthright citizenship, when we're talking about not caring about deporting children who are U.S. citizens, separating them from their parents, I think we're talking about who gets to have full protection under the Constitution.
And I think that goes to the origin of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was created for Black people who had been enslaved, who are now free. It was one of the Reconstruction Amendments, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. And the 14th declared birthright citizenship specifically for Black people. So this isn't just a Latino issue. This is an issue about who you go after when you're finished with the Latinos. Who do you go after after you do that? This is something that...
No, because he's so right when he says that. If you look back, if you literally just look back at American history, like one party or another, whether or not like there was a switch like in views or whatever, there's all like immigrants are always being targeted, whether that was like the Irish way back in the day, whether that was like Chinese people way back before that, and then it was slaves obviously before that, and then like Native American people as well. They're always gonna target somebody. So like even the people who are voting for like these people like Trump, who are literally trying to put policies in place or take policies away that are going to hurt people, who are they going to come after next? Because eventually they are going to come after you. If you're on Social Security, they're eventually going to come after Social Security. Like if you're Black, like he said, like they're eventually going to come after you. If you're gay, they're coming after you. If you're trans, they're coming after you. If you're a woman, they're coming after you.
A little bit more credit.
This is something that Black people should be very concerned about.
Okay, Black people weren't running here, okay? They were taken here. There is a big difference between being pulled out of your continent into this continent and you deserve rights versus people who are coming into this country without obeying by the laws.
Why was the 14th Amendment created?
To help the people who were brought here against their will.
Right.
Okay?
And who are those people?
These are the Black people.
Okay.
These are people who are coming here.
That's why I'm making the point
they're
that I'm
coming here
making.
voluntarily against the law. Christina, what you said about the system
Was
being
it
broken,
lawful to enslave
nobody
Black
could
people?
disagree with you.
Yeah, no, it's
No
not.
one could disagree.
We need to have a real. Look, all of us here benefit from immigrant labor.
I was just
if
gonna
you just
say,
like came, took the train, you ordered delivery from a
100%.
restaurant, or you had a nice meal at a restaurant, we all here depend on immigrant labor. And what he's talking about is going after families, going after workers, and going after entire communities that will destroy not only families.
I think that there's a real need, though, to try and maybe this is where Democrats should be adding value and maybe aren't adding enough value, to really not just look at individuals, but to look at what this country needs and where people are actually getting jobs and working. Because our country does depend on immigrant labor in all sorts of industries. And that's something where, to be honest, Donald Trump cares about growth, economic growth, as do Democrats and immigrant activists. And so, when Christina says there needs to be a thoughtful conversation about this, the rhetoric needs to go away. You do need a thoughtful conversation.
You can't say we need immigrant labor and then have people here sustaining major parts of our economy, and they say, oh, by the way, we don't want you, we're going to deport you. So we really need to have
we obviously are a nation
a
of
conversation.
And we do use immigrant labor in this country, and it's very important. But you can't have a country without laws. And the political reality is that the American people believe the border is not secure. They believe the immigration system is a mess. They believe the politicians in Washington have failed. And they believe this has gone on and on and on. And a major reason he won the election is to clean it up. And part of cleaning it up is saying, if you came here illegally and you don't obey our laws, we're not giving you special privileges anymore. That's the political bottom line.
But you know what? He didn't clean it up last time.
Right. He didn't. Right.
Or is it because in major swing states that wasn't high voter turnout?
It's not that easy.
Or is that the reason?
He did a better job than Joe Biden. Why did Joe Biden throw out all of his executive orders on day one that led to this crisis?
a better job traumatizing over 5,000 children, separating
how many children has this administration lost track of? Do you know? It's tens of thousands.
The Trump administration made it impossible to have any way to be able to reunite.
Where have you been the last 4 years, honestly? I mean, the Biden administration
nobody's done a good job
has done
Scott,
nothing but make this worse. The political reaction to this in November was to go back to Trump because they believed he had it under control and could get it under control.
Jennings, you hear in that ending birthright citizenship.
This has been
in that vote, I mean.
This has been a long-standing argument of some on the right who are immigration hardliners. I assume it'll be litigated. To me, the most critical issues are border security, deport the criminals, people with deportation orders. That's where you got to start.
Okay.
And the DACA thing, which he said in the interview, is
you're limited there. You'd
issue.
probably be all right.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car. Okay, you ready? All right, 118.
Okay, so let's go back, I guess. Oh, no. This is actually
President-elect Donald Trump, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. You are the first president since Grover Cleveland to win non-consecutive terms. Republicans now have control of the House and the Senate.
Right.
What do you plan to accomplish in your first 100 days in office?
Well, we're going to do something with the border, and very strong, very powerful. That'll be our first signal, and the first signal to America that we're not playing games. We have people coming in by the millions, as you know, and a lot of people shouldn't be here. Most of them shouldn't be here.
We have people coming in by the millions. I can't spell. That's fine. By the millions, my ass. I mean, maybe a few million, like, a year is what it's looking like. Like, even this. Where was it? See, this is per million. I mean, yeah, it was higher in 2022, but like even let me pull up my calculator really quick, because it's not millions of people, and I know he's like exaggerating or whatever, but that's really annoying because it makes it like and obviously there's a reason why he's trying to do that like that, right? He's trying to like scare people into making it sound like it's so much worse than what it is. It's not that many people. It's like I said, in 2022 it was like 11 million people, and that divided by 365 is like 300,000 people. There would have to be 300,000 people every single day coming into the United States, and like I don't even think that doesn't even sound right. Pew Research Center. Google AI says it's only about 5,000 people. I don't know where Google AI gets this information from, though. I guess it links it. Oh. So let's see, nearly 70,000 foreigners arrive in the United States every year. Many of these are visitors. Says some of them are tourists. About 20,000 are immigrants and refugees. Yeah, and only about 5,000. So let's see the difference. So times like not even 2 million people, that's like 1,800,000 people, 1,825,000 people to be exact. Like whatever.
But,
and that's like whatever.
We have jails being emptied into our country. We have mental institutions from all over the world being emptied into our country. So we'll be doing that.
Where's the proof of that? I genuinely want somebody to like show me the proof of that. You can't, by the way.
We're going to be extending within that period, or as soon as we can, the Trump tax cuts, because they're coming due and they're very substantial for people, and it would be very, I think it will anger a lot of people, frankly, if we don't get
Just real quick, on a side topic, talking about this that we're doing on the main screen. I thought, how do I change, am I gonna have to like change it on every single one of these individually? I mean, that makes sense, but.
An extension of that. That's what led us to one of the greatest economies ever.
Ooh,
and those two things are going to be very vital, very important. We're going to be focusing on crime in the cities, and we'll work with Democrat governors. Most of them are, as you know, if you look at the 25 worst places, they're just about all Democrat-controlled cities and states, and we're going to be working with Democrat governors.
Is it because they're Democratic ran, or is it just because there's more people there? I mean, I don't think it's rocket science, but I feel like when there's more people in a place, more crime's probably going to happen.
Governors and Democrat mayors, and I look forward to doing it, but we have to do something about crime, and mostly in our cities. And we're going to have a lot of other things. We'll be working on nominations. We're going to still be working on some nominations. I think they're going very well. We have, for the most part, I think they're going extremely well. It looks like Peter's doing well now. I mean, people were a little bit concerned. He's a young guy with a tremendous track record, actually. He went to Princeton and went to Harvard. He was a good student at both, but he loves the military, and I think people are starting to see it. So we'll be working on his nomination along with a lot of others.
We are going to delve into your nominations, but since you bring him up, do you still have confidence in Pete Hegseth?
Yes, I do. I really do. He's a very smart guy. I've known him through Fox, but I've known him for a long time. And he's basically a military guy. I mean, every time I talk to him, all he wants to talk about is the military. He's a military guy. I used to kid him about it. I didn't think would be in this position where he may be, hopefully will be Secretary of Defense. But every time I was with him, he was fighting for soldiers, where he said some soldier was unjustly put in prison because they were really doing what they were taught to do, in some cases. So, yeah, I think he's going to do fine.
The fact that there are these allegations against him, misconduct, sexual misconduct, heavy drinking, the fact that he said to some senators reportedly he'll stop drinking if he gets this job.
That's also what's really frustrating. And Trump literally has 20 fucking sexual assault allegations against him. Like, I'm not surprised to hear somebody that he is nominating for a position also has sex assault allegations. Like, he has 26.
Yeah.
Does that worry you?
No, I think that everybody has something that they can stop. Some people can stop eating. I'm lucky I'm not a drinker, but I could stop eating. And we all want to stop doing something. And if he said that, I mean, it's a nice thing to say. That's a good thing to say. But he's very respected. I can tell you, I know a lot of the people at Fox, they think he's fantastic. And the people that work with him, really, they love him. So I think you're going to have somebody that's really terrific. And again,
I mean,
all
how
he talked about
often
with me, I said, you know, you're not really a
are you
television
in a
guy, even though he did very well. As you know,
of position?
You're really a military guy. He said, I'm all
A
about
position
the
of
military.
power,
And I
I
told
mean,
him,
and
so he's making a lot
have
of money
people
at
that
Fox. They're
work
doing very
under
well.
you and be like, oh yeah, this person is terrible. They're a piece of shit. Like, how often does that actually happen? Like, that definitely happens at my job, but my job is customer service. Like, I feel like most of the people who probably work for this guy more or less kind of choose to work for this guy probably because of the way he thinks and the way he acts and, like, the things he stands for.
Well, and
what do I know?
I said, you know, if for some reason you don't get this thing, you're not going to be able to go back. And all that money you're making, you can kiss it goodbye. He said, this is all about America. You know, he didn't say, well, let me think about it, let me discuss it. That's a very big, risky thing he's doing. When he goes and he says, I'm going to give up, you know, millions of dollars in order to possibly become the Secretary of Defense. A lot of people would say it's a great position. It's probably almost no greater position, but a lot of people would say, I have to think about it. He said, I don't have to think about it.
All right, we're going to delve into your cabinet picks a little bit later, but I want to delve into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices.
Sense. He's like, oh yeah, he's so great because he didn't have to think about it.
You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe it.
Can you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow. But I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries.
I just love that with Trump. He's like, oh, we just have the best. We're just the greatest. We just have the most amazing. It's like when it comes to himself, the only what is it called? The only thing he knows to say is like complimentary things, and then when it's other people that he doesn't like, he like is the complete opposite.
Countries, but in particular China, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over, They didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years just based on what I had created.
I also think that's part of the reason why a lot of older people, or some older people, like Trump, is because he acts like he can't do anything wrong, or like he doesn't do anything wrong. And personally, like, coming from the standpoint of like someone who was raised by like literal boomers, like, I feel like they're not okay with making mistakes. And because he's so confident, because he like never admits to making, or like he never admits to making a mistake, I think that's why they like him so much. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So I think we will, I'm a big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich. We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state. We're subsidizing Mexico, and we're subsidizing Canada, and we're subsidizing many countries all over the world. And all I want to do is I want to have a level, fast, but fair playing field.
Sir, your previous tariffs during your first administration cost Americans some $80 billion, and now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
They cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are...
He's not answering the question though, brother. She was like, these companies, these exact specific companies are literally telling us they are literally gonna pass the cost on to the consumer. And he's like,
we're going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%.
No, it's going to make them better.
And
they're going to pay it.
They have many purposes, tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country money. And we never really got the chance to go all out because we had to fight COVID in the last part. And we did it very successfully. And when I handed it over to Biden, the stock market was higher than what it was just previous to COVID coming in. It was actually higher. Tariffs are properly used, are a very powerful tool, not only economically, but also for getting other things outside of economics.
Well, again, prices did go up on some goods in your first administration, washing machines, tires. Will you punish CEOs?
Let me just explain to you. No. You mentioned washing machines. So you look at Whirlpool in Ohio.
How you going? Oh my God. Okay, let's see what he has to say.
I got a call from Jim Jordan, one of the greats, congressman from Ohio. And he said, they're going out of business because South Korea and China are dumping washing machines into our country. And I put a 50% tariff on the washing machines coming in from China and South Korea. And Whirlpool and the companies that made washing machines, which are based in Ohio, largely based in Ohio, went through the roof. We saved thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs. They were all going out of business because they were dumping washing machines.
We can keep it playing. I don't know why I turned it off.
And when I put the tariffs on, they became successful businesses. No, it didn't. Not only didn't it cost people, it made our country stronger and more powerful, and it kept jobs.
But how do you make sure that consumers don't wind up paying more? Will you punish CEOs who try to pass the cost of tariffs on to their customers?
Well, the market's going to take care of it. I mean, actually, the market takes care of it. And if it doesn't, we adjust it somewhat. But in the case of Whirlpool, or let's say companies that made washing machines, they were all being put out of business by the dumping from, in particular, South Korea and China. And when I put the tariffs on, very substantial tariffs, although peanuts compared to what people do to us, what countries do to us, it became a very, very powerful, successful company. Now, let's say I didn't do the tariffs. It would have gone out of business. You would have lost tens of thousands of jobs, and you don't include that in your equation. No, they make a lot of money. I'll go a step further. Tariffs are going to make our country rich. Tariffs are going to help us pay off $35 trillion in debt. Tariffs are going to make our country safe, because China, as an example, doesn't want to play games with us if we're going to do tariffs on them. They don't want to play games. And we have a lot of games being played on us right now.
Well, I think, and that takes me to my next question. Yeah. Are you actually going to impose these tariffs, or are they a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'll give you an example. With Canada, and in particular Mexico, we have millions of people pouring into our country. You agree with that. I spoke with I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call ended. He was at Mar-a-Lago. We were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders, because they're coming in the northern border, too, a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in, maybe more importantly, drugs are pouring in at levels never seen before, 10 times what we had. They're just pouring in. We can't have open borders. And I said to the president of Mexico and to Justin Trudeau, if it doesn't stop, I'm going to put tariffs on your country at about 25%. That's a very substantial tariff. And in the case of, in both cases, but in the case where it was really visible, within 10 minutes after that phone call, we noticed that the people coming across the border, the southern border, having to do with Mexico, they were at a trickle, just a trickle. It was, in fact, I call the border. See, unlike my opponent, I do call the border a lot. And I said, how's the border looking today? They said, there's nobody here. They couldn't believe it. The military stopped these vast groups of people. You know, we call them caravans, but they had caravans of people, and they largely stopped them. Now, they're going to have to continue that, but if they don't continue, and the other thing I told them is no more drugs, and I told that to China, too. I had a deal with President Xi. Had the election been different, I'm going to be very nice, because we don't have to get into an argument over 2020, but had the election been different, the result been different, we would have had China giving the maximum penalty, which is the penalty.
You can tell he's still upset about it. He's like pouting. He's like, I'm not going to get into it. I mean, they cheated, but I'm not going to get into it. If it had been different.
Of death to people that sent fentanyl into this country, but Biden didn't, unfortunately, finish that discussion up. I had an agreement with President Xi, who I got along with very well. We've had communication as recently as this week, and I had communication with him where they were going to give the death penalty to anybody sending drugs into the United States.
This week you had that conversation.
Okay.
Not that conversation, but I had other conversations. But in the past, I've had that conversation.
Let me ask you about another aspect of the economy, sir, the minimum wage. The federal minimum wage has been $7.25 since 2009. There are 20 states that still have the federal minimum wage at $7.25, and I actually have a map. 19 of these states actually voted for you, sir. Mm-hmm. And you can see it right here. I don't know if you remember this, but during the debate in 2020, I asked you if you would raise the minimum wage. You said you would consider it. And so my question for you is, now that you are going back to the White House, for these 19 states that voted for you, are you going to raise the federal
It's a very low
minimum wage?
number. I will agree. It's a very low number. Let me give you the downside, though. Yeah. In California, they raised it up to a very high number. And your restaurants are going out of business all over the place. The population is shrinking. It's had a very negative impact. But there is a level at which you could do it, absolutely. Yeah.
What is that level, do you
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I can say this. You have a lot of businesses that are open and thriving because of the lower minimum wage.
But I feel like I don't hear a lot of people talk about either when it has to do with people. And maybe, I mean, people probably are talking about it, but like when it has to do with people moving, or like a lot of people moving from California. What type of people are moving from California? Is it like people who are like super liberal, or is it like super conservative people who like are Republican? 2, what is the actual reason that they're moving? Is it like cost alone, or like does any of it have to do with like, I don't know, all the crazy ass fires that happen in California? Like the one I saw, let's see, let me go back real quick. Let's look. Because I'm pretty sure I saw something earlier about, like a wildfire in California, like spreading. We can like still.
If you raise it too much, and you understand this, if California went crazy, they went crazy, and people, the restaurants are closing all over. Many more people are hurt.
So I hear you saying, similarly to sort of what you said in 2020, will you consider? Is this something you're going to look at?
I'd want to speak to the governors. And the other thing that's very complicated about minimum wages is places are so different.
Yeah,
Mississippi and Alabama and great places are very different than New York or California.
Reason?
I mean, in terms of the cost of living and other things. So it would be nice to have just a minimum wage for the whole country, but it wouldn't work because you have places where it's very inexpensive to live, where a minimum wage, which is $8 or $9, might be, might have very little effect because the cost of living in certain places is really low.
Before we move on to
where in the United States can you live off of that little amount of money? And I think it's so crazy when people like this motherfucker talk about stuff like this because, sir, you have absolutely no idea what it's like to work a job where you only make minimum wage or you make $8 or $9 an hour. Like, you're definitely not making, even if you are making $8 or $9 an hour. Trust me, I know, because I literally make like $16 an hour, $17 an hour. I only sound like I don't know because my position has recently changed, but what in the United States? I meant to put where in the United States. In the United States, can you live off? We'll be generous. He said $8 or $9 an hour. Where? I don't think you can live anywhere. Like, yeah. Let's see. Map of cost of living in United States. If I could fucking spell, that would probably help. United States. Okay. Is this it? Is this like, what is this? Total budget? I don't think this is what I'm looking for. Oh, that's, yeah.
Immigration, which I do want to talk about. The chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, said he will not leave his post even if you ask him to. Will you try to replace Jerome Powell?
No, I don't think so. I don't see it. But I think if I told him to, he would. But if I asked him to, he probably wouldn't. But if I told him to, he would.
You don't have plans to do that right now?
No, I don't.
Okay, let's talk about mass deportation, one of your big agenda items. You've talked about prioritizing people who have criminal histories.
Correct.
But is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it. And it's a very tough thing to do. But you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people.
Oh, that's so crazy. Hearing this motherfucker say, you have to have rules. You have to have regulations. I mean, he's a fucking criminal. I mean, he quite literally has 26 sexual assault allegations. Maybe because of YouTube, I should start saying, SA allegations, but he literally has 26 SA allegations, and he's okay.
People that have been online for 10 years to come into the country, and we're going to make it very easy for people to come in terms of they have to pass the test. They have to be able to tell you what the Statue of Liberty is. They have to tell you a little bit about our country. They have to love our country. They can't come out of prisons. We don't want people that are in for murder. So we had 11,000 and 13,000 different estimates, 13,099.
I want to see Trump take the citizenship test. That's what I want. That's actually, because he's talking about it like it's so fucking easy. You just come over here the right way. You just take a little test. You just know what the Statue of Liberty's for. That's not what the fucking... Okay, whatever.
Murderers released into our country over the last 3 years. They're walking down the streets. They're walking next to you and your family, and they're very dangerous.
The 13,000 figure, I think, goes back about 40 years.
No, it doesn't. No,
That
it's within the 3-year period.
figure.
It's during the Biden term. No, that was a fiction that they put that out. This was done by the Border Patrol. It's 13,099, and it's during the Biden period of time. And these are murderers, many of whom murdered more than one person. You don't want those people in this country.
How does he know that? Why does he think he knows that? Where is this information coming from? Out of his ass? I mean, yes, but...
But you're saying something, sir, that's significant. I just want to make sure I'm clear, which is that you're saying, yes, you're going to focus on the people with criminal histories, but everyone who's here illegally has to go.
I'm saying this. We have to get the criminals out of our country. We have to get people that were taken out of mental institutions and put them back into their mental institution, no matter what country it is. Do you know that Venezuela, their prisons are at the lowest point in terms of emptiness that they've ever been? They're taking their people out of those prisons by the thousands, and they're drunk. And just to get back, because I know exactly what you're getting at. Number one, we're doing criminals, and we're going to do them really rapidly. We're getting the worst gang probably with MS-13, and the Venezuelan gangs are the worst in the world. They're vicious, violent people.
I think this motherfucker thinks that it's like the olden days, like when Great Britain and like all of the, or not Great Britain, the United Kingdom, whatever, and all of these other places in Europe were like still taking over other like places in the world, like when where was it? Like when the United Kingdom literally used to send their criminals to Australia. Like, does he literally think that Venezuela is like, oh, you guys are criminals. You gotta go to America now. Gotta get the fuck out of here. It's time to go. You're on strike 3. You know what strike 3 means? Strike 3 means you don't go to prison. You go to America. You better be careful because Trump's president there.
And you see what they've done in Colorado and other places. They're taking over literally taking over apartment complexes and doing it with impunity. They don't care. They couldn't. They just are. They're in the real estate business.
You know, the local police say that is not the case in Colorado.
Oh, it's totally the case. I mean, I have it
you
on
don't
tape.
believe the local police.
I play it. I used to play it at my rallies every single night. No, they're breaking into doors. They're taking over the building.
But sir, you
and by the
raised
way,
the point.
The police are afraid to do anything.
You raised the point that the logistics are complicated. You said
Sure
it yourself.
they are, but everything's complicated.
Yeah, you mean you need 24 times more ICE detention capacity just to deport 1 million people per year, not to mention more agents, more judges, more planes. Is it realistic to deport everyone who's here illegally?
You have no choice. First of all, they're costing us a fortune. But we're starting with the criminals, and we got to do it. And then we're starting with others, and we're going to see how it goes.
Who are the others?
Others are other people outside of criminals. We have convicted murders. We don't mean people that are even on trial. We have people that have murdered numerous people are on our streets and in our farms, and we have to get them out of our country.
What about dreamers, sir? Dreamers who were brought to this country illegally as children. You said once back in 2017, they, quote, shouldn't be very worried about being deported. Should they be worried now?
I'm going to show you how to exit corporate America by replacing your corporate income as a coach or consultant in under 18 months, even if you're a six-figure or...
The dreamers are going to come later, and we have to do something about the dreamers because these are people that have been brought here at a very young age, and many of these are middle-aged people now. They don't even speak the language of their country. And yes, we're going to do something about the dreamers.
What does that mean?
And
what are you going to do?
I will work with the Democrats on a plan, and if we can come up with a plan, but the Democrats have made it very, very difficult to do anything.
Okay, so essentially what he's saying is, I mean, I'm going to leave it up to the Democrats. And if the Democrats don't do exactly what I say, then I'm just going to try and deport all of these people. He's not actually answering her question. He's not actually, like, and it's not hard to, like, fact check some of this stuff. Like, yeah, some of it's, like, hard to find, and some of it takes, like, more than, like, 5 seconds, and you actually have to think about it, but...
Republicans are very open to the dreamers. The dreamers, we're talking many years ago, they were brought into this country, many years ago.
And here's the thing, too. I feel like Republicans never actually do that. Republicans, like, never actually, like, try and, like, Republicans never, like, give, like, a leeway to, like, Democrats. They say they're going to, but then they don't, and then Democrats do, and then... like being fucking moderate.
Some of them are no longer young
Talking
people.
About the solution is to be moderate. No,
in many cases, they become successful. They have great jobs. In some cases, they have small businesses. Some cases, they might have large businesses. And we're going to have to do something with them. And
you want them to be able to stay. That's what you're saying.
I do. Okay. I want to be able to work something out. And it should have been able to be worked out over the last 3 or 4 years. And it never got worked out. You know, Biden could have done it because he controlled, you know, Congress to a certain extent, right? He could have done something, but they didn't do it. I never understood why, because they always seem to want to do it, but then when it comes down to it, they don't. I think we can work with the Democrats and work something out.
Let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. Your borders are...
You're talking about separation.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are two aspects to this. Your border czar, Tom Homan, said they can be deported together.
Correct.
Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep the... Well, I don't want to be breaking up families, so the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together and you have to send them all back.
Even...
Or you just don't deport them.
And kids who are here legally?
Well, what you're going to do if they want to stay with the father, look, we have to have rules and regulations. You can always find something out like, you know, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take a wonderful young woman who's with a criminal, and they show the woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out, and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country, and then the public turns against us. But we have to do our job, and you have to have a series of standards and a series of laws, and in the end, Look, our country is a mess. We have the highest crime rate, and during the debate, a man whose ratings have gone way down, David Muir, said...
And he would know because he has 26 SA assaults. So he's part of that.
To me, no, crime is, because I had to debate 3 people, not 1. Debating 1 was easy. Debating 3 was actually pretty easy, too, if you want to know the truth. But David Muir said, the crime rates have gone down. I said, no, they've gone up. And then the following day, they released the crime rates, and they were way up.
Yeah, the FBI statistics, you're talking about those FBI statistics.
Well, no, but he gave the wrong answer.
Confusing based on what you're looking at.
But a lot of that is migrant crime.
Let me ask you about another aspect
Christian,
of this.
you know a lot of it's migrant crime.
Well, let me ask you about another aspect of this that I think a lot of people are really...
I think another reason why crime rate could be going up is because a lot of crimes that are being committed, like with discrimination, like let's say like somebody's racist, and they commit a crime against like a person of color, or like somebody is like homophobic and they commit a crime against somebody who's gay. I think it's a lot easier for those people to know, like, hey, like, yeah, I should report this with the police, but I should also report this, I think, with the FBI is what I've heard. So like people are more educated, hopefully, and are reporting like at least hate crimes. That's what I was looking for. They're reporting hate crimes to like places where it's like actually gonna be like reported.
Curious about. I mean, 3% of the people who are here illegally have criminal histories. But in your first administration, you had the zero tolerance policy, where we did see family separations.
Yeah.
You ended it. The purpose of that, though, to some extent, and you talked about this at the time, was deterrent.
You also had it with Obama. You do know that.
He didn't have a zero tolerance policy.
And you also know he built the jails for children.
He didn't have a zero tolerance policy.
But in 2014, he built the jails. You know that.
I want to ask you about the zero tolerance policy. I mean, he didn't have a systemic, we're going to separate families. Families were separated when parents were a threat to the kids.
We don't have to separate a family. Excuse me, Kristen.
Yeah.
We don't have to separate families. Yeah. We'll send the whole family very humanely back to the country where they came. That way the family's not separated.
So no more family separations. You're not reviving the zero tolerance policy. Well, it depends on the family. The family may decide to say, I'd rather have dad go, and we'll stay here. And in which case they have that option. But you're not going to revive your zero tolerance policy, which was put in place as a deterrent. Is there any universe where you would bring that back, sir?
We need deterrence. Look, ready? When somebody comes here illegally, they're going out. It's very simple.
Saying no, so that way
when they come here illegally, they're going out. Now, like, if they come here illegally, but their family is here legally, then the family has a choice. The person that came in illegally can go out, or they can all go out together. And that was made very clear by Tom Homan.
So you're not, at this point in time, planning to revive that zero tolerance policy where kids are separated?
Well, if you call that, yeah, I'm doing what I just told you I'm going to do. You know, I don't want to send the family out. I don't want to send anybody out. But I'll tell you, we have to, because otherwise we have no country. If we don't have voters,
if he doesn't want to,
if we don't have voting, good voting, fair voting. Do you know they're still counting votes in San Diego, California? Listen, they're still counting the votes. This is almost 4 weeks. They're still counting the votes. If we don't have fair elections and honest voting and machines that work quickly, you know, if you had paper ballots, every election will be over by 10 o'clock in the evening.
Sir, let me ask you.
You understand what I'm saying?
Let me, before we get to...
And you get a much more accurate count.
Before we get to all of that, let me ask you about some of your other promises on this topic. You've promised to end birthright citizenship on day one. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
The 14th Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born in the United States are citizens. Can you get around the 14th Amendment with an executive action?
Well, we're going to have to get a change. We'll maybe have to go back to the people, but we have to end it. We're the only country that has it.
Through an executive action?
You know, we're the only country that has it. Do you know, if somebody sets a foot, just a foot, 1 foot, you don't need to, on our land, congratulations, you are now a citizen of the United States of America. Yes, we're going to end that because it's ridiculous.
Through executive action?
Well, if we can, through executive action. I was going to do it through executive action, but then we had to fix COVID first, to be honest with you. We have to end it. It's ridiculous. Do you know we're the only country in the world that has it? Do you know that? There's not one other country.
What about the legal challenge, inevitable legal challenges that'll come?
Do you know we have thousands of judges? Somebody walks onto our land, and we have to now say, welcome to the United States. They could be a criminal or not a criminal. We release them into our country. It's called catch and release. We release them into our country. Wait, just one second. And now they get them lawyers. And the lawyers are good lawyers. And everybody has a lawyer. And do you know how many judges we have? Thousands. Thousands. Now, here's what other countries do. They come into the land and they say, I'm sorry, you have to go. And they take them out. Okay? With us, once they touch our land, we're into litigation that lasts for years, costs us hundreds of billions of dollars. We have judges, and I'm sure they're all honest, but I don't know that for a fact. You can imagine what's going on with the judges. But just so you, because I have a lot of judges, I tell you what, I know more about judges than any human being in history. Look.
Because he's a criminal.
We have judges. Every time somebody puts 2 feet or even 1 foot on a piece of our land, it's welcome to long-term litigation. Other countries, every other country, when somebody walks on and they see that they're here illegally, they walk them off, they take them back to where they came from. We have to get rid of this system. It's killing our country.
Let's talk about health care. I've been talking to Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill. They say it's no longer feasible to repeal and replace Obamacare because it's so entrenched in the system. Do you see it that way? Is that now off the table, repealing and replacing
When John
Obamacare?
McCain let us down by voting, and Murkowski and Collins and whoever it was that voted against, but they really let us down. They did us a great disservice because we would have had great health. Obamacare is lousy health care. It's very expensive health care for the people. It's also expensive for the country, but for the people. It's lousy health care. When John McCain gave his thumbs down after saying for 10 years that he wants to repeal and replace, okay? And then he came out, put his now famous thumbs down, and he became a hero to the left. Let me just tell you, if we find something better, I would love to do it. But unless we find, but one thing I have to say, I inherited Obamacare, or anything else you want to go, it's got about 20 names, but I inherited it. And I had a decision to make with Health and Human Services. I had a big decision to make. Do I make it as good as we can make it, or do I let it rot? And a lot of political people said, let it rot and let it be a failure. I said, that's not the right thing to do. And I had very good people in the medical area
he really
that handled that.
Likes to do the
and I
right
said,
thing.
what do you want to do? He said, we really have an obligation to make it as good as we can. And we did. We made it as good as we can make it. Instead of making it bad where everybody would be calling for its repeal, I made it so that it works. Now,
but you did try to overturn it, sir.
Well, it's lousy.
You did try to overturn it. You did have your Justice Department try to direct the Supreme Court to.
No, we got a little bit of a surprising opinion, to be honest with you. If it would have been overturned, we would have had much better health care right now. But right now, we have something that I made the best of. I could have made the worst of it, and it would have fallen by the wayside. I did the right thing from a human standpoint. But, you know, I'm sort of proud of my decision. At the same time, sometimes I regret it. I told the people, and I gave them the money to do it. I said, fix it, make it work, because people would have suffered. But it's too bad that they voted no. I wish John McCain, he fought for 10 years on.
He was like, I tried to tell them. I tried to discipline them and be like, fix it, do it. And you know what? This person and this person and this person, I just didn't discipline them enough. And because of them, we couldn't make it better.
Replacing Obamacare for 10 years, and then he voted against. Nobody understands it.
Sir, you said during the campaign you had concepts of a plan. Do you have an actual plan at this point for health care?
Yes, we have concepts of a plan that would be better.
Still just concepts? Do you have a fully developed plan?
Let me explain. We have the biggest healthcare companies looking at it. We have doctors. We're always looking because Obamacare stinks. It's lousy. there are better answers. If we come up with a better answer, I would present that answer to Democrats and to everybody else, and I do something about it. But until we have that, or until they can approve it, but we're not going to go through the big deal. I am the one that saved Obamacare, I will say, and I did the right thing. I could have done the more political thing and killed it, and all I had to do is starve it to death.
You did try to have your Justice Department effectively kill it, though.
No. Kill it from a legal standpoint, but from a physical standpoint, I made it work.
In your concepts of a plan, sir.
Listen, you want to skip this ad. I would too. But what if I told you there's a skip ads for everybody? It's called Pop.
Will people with pre-existing conditions still have coverage? And can you guarantee their prices will not go up?
The answer is yes. They'll have coverage. You have to have it.
And what about their prices?
Because you know what?
What about their prices, sir?
I want the prices to go down. I want to have better health care for less money. And there are ways of doing it, I believe. And I have the smartest people in that world. You know, that's a separate world unto itself. I have the smartest people in that world looking at it and trying. And if they come up with something, I will present it. Now, maybe you won't be able to sell it, but if we get better health care for less money, I believe it's very saleable.
Just very quickly, when will we see your fully developed plan? When are you going to show the public?
I don't know that you'll see it at all. I can only say that we have some of the best health care people. I've always tinkered with it. I think it's a little hard to explain. Obamacare, when I took it over, was a disaster. And I made it workable.
It has insured 20 million people.
Yeah, because of me. Because of me. If you look at what I did,
I need to find the clip, but I heard about.
You tried to.
I made it good.
You tried
legally,
to repeal and replace it. You tried to kill it.
Because if I repealed it and replaced it, we would have had a better.
I heard about how some people were like just recently figuring out that the Affordable Health Care Act and Obamacare were the same thing.
Better system because we wouldn't have had health care. And the Democrats would have been forced to do something. If we wouldn't have had it, the Democrats would have been forced to do something that they wouldn't do if we have it.
Let me ask you about another aspect of health care. You talked about this on the campaign trail, right. IVF. You promised free IVF for all who want it, either through the government or through mandates with insurance companies. I've been hearing from Republican senators, some of them, who say they're not going to support that plan. How are you going to get that passed?
Well, we're going to see. We want them to pay, ideally the insurance companies to pay for it, the fertilization. I came out very early for a Republican especially, and I think they were looking for my guidance, my great wisdom, right? They were looking for it. And I got a call from Katie Britt, who's a terrific person, senator from Alabama.
There's more
and she said, sir, we just had a really negative ruling from a judge in Alabama, conservative judge, that all of these clinics had to be closed. And she said, and she went into great detail, and she said people are devastated over it. And after literally speaking to her for 5 minutes, I issued an order, really an order in a sense. And it was a statement from the Republican Party that we are all for IVF and fertilization. Okay. The Alabama legislature met the following day and passed it. It was a beautiful thing to see. And I consider myself to be the father of IVF in a certain way. And the Republicans were very strong on the issue.
But, sir, I want to understand where it falls in your list of priorities. I mean, is this something we can expect to see you try to move on in the first 100 days?
We're going to be talking about it, and we're going to be seeing. We have a lot of other things. I have tax cuts. You know, we'll be submitting in either the first or second package to Congress the extension of the tax cuts. So that might very well be in there, or it'll come sometime after that.
Let's talk about abortion, sir. You have taken responsibility for overturning Roe v. Wade. You've said that abortion is now a state issue. There are steps that you could take, though, as president, to restrict abortion through executive action without Congress. More than half of abortions in this country are medication abortions. Will you restrict the availability of abortion pills when you're in office?
I'll probably stay with exactly what I've been saying for the last 2 years, and the answer is no.
You commit to that?
Well, I commit. I mean, do things change? I think they change. I hate to go on shows like Joe Biden. I'm not going to give my son a pardon. I will not, under any circumstances, give him a pardon. I watched this, and I always knew he was going to give him a pardon, and I don't like putting myself in a position like that. So things do change, but I don't think it's going to change at all.
Okay. Let's talk about some of your picks to fill out your administration. You named Kash Patel to be the next FBI director. He has a list in his book of 60 people that he calls members of the so-called deep state. It includes Democrats like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. It includes former members of your cabinet, from Bill Barr to Christopher Wray.
I'm also just going to say, I feel like if there was a deep state that Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and all of these other people who are allegedly in, I feel like if that was a real thing, Trump's probably in it too. Like, let's be real here. Like, we've all seen the picture of them, like, from years and years and years ago, before Trump, like, actually ran, where they're, like, all, like, buddy-buddy, because they probably are all buddy-buddy.
You campaigned on destroying the deep state.
Like
Do you want
most people
Kash
in
Patel to
general are
launch?
more connected than we realize it, especially nowadays when like we have so
Investigations into people on that list?
So much like easily like accessible technology like smartphones, computers, the internet, all that good stuff. I mean, you can go to Walmart and connect like a phone to the Wi-Fi and there you go. People, especially people like that, they're way more connected than even people who think they know. It's probably more connected than even they know.
No, I mean, he's going to do what he thinks is right.
Do you think that's right? Do you think that's right, sir?
If they think that somebody was dishonest or crooked or a corrupt politician, I think he probably has an obligation to do it. But
are you going to direct him to do it?
No, not at all. Not at all. We have two great people there. We have him and we have Pam. And Pam Bondi has been like a rocket ship. She's very popular and very good and very fair. And Kash Patel is very fair. I'll tell you, I thought Kash may be difficult because he's, you know, a strong conservative voice. And I don't know of anybody that's not singing his praises. The other day I was watching, and Trey Gowdy, who's a moderate person and very smart and very respected in the party, he's Kash's biggest fan. He said, this is the most misunderstood man in politics. He's great. I guess they worked together on the Russia hoax or something. And Trey Gowdy became a fan. You know Trey Gowdy. Everybody respects him. And, you know, just like him, others also. I don't know of one negative vote. I don't think he's going to have any negative votes.
Is it your expectation, though, that Kash Patel will pursue investigations against your political enemies?
No. I don't think so.
Do you want to see that happen?
If they were crooked, if they did something wrong, if they have broken the law, probably. They went after me, you know. They went after me and I did nothing wrong.
Well, let me ask you this. You said President Biden, quote, that you're going to appoint a real special prosecutor to go after Joe Biden. You said that during the campaign.
Where?
You said that on Truth Social, June 12th, 2023. I will appoint a real special prosecutor to go after the most corrupt president in the history of the United States, Joe Biden, and the entire Biden crime family. Are you going to do that? Are you going to go after Joe Biden?
I'm really looking to make our country successful. I'm not looking to go back into the past. I'm looking to make our country successful. Retribution will be through success. If we can make this country successful, that would be that would be such a great achievement. Bring it back. We have a country now that's overridden with crime, that has millions of people that shouldn't be here, that should be in prisons in other countries, that should be in mental institutions. We have drug lords being dropped into our country and told never go back to their country.
So
I'm looking to make our country.
I can go ahead and design this part in Google Sheets. I mean, honestly, it looks like it's kind of going to be pain in the neck. It won't let me move it the way I want to move it. But other than that, okay. I'm trying to make bitch.
Okay. Great. I'm looking to bring prices down because, you know, I won on two things, the border and more than immigration. You know, they like to say immigration. I break it down more to the border, but I won on the border and I won on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. like almost, who uses the word? I started using the word, the groceries, when you buy apples, when you buy bacon, when you buy eggs.
What? He's freaking out over the word groceries. Probably because he never has to go to the grocery store to buy any of the things that he's talking of. Oh my God. Like, I literally think this is a whole new level of, like, what the fuck, tomfoolery and elitism. Like, he's freaking out over the fucking, like, over groceries. And the way he's saying it, you're like, what? Okay. I'm gonna run to the restroom really quick. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna stream. Probably like an hour. Especially now I know which I need to figure out a way to make it to where it's not as fucking large when I insert it. But should I keep this playing or? I'll be right back.
price over a short period of time. And I won an election based on that. We're going to bring those prices way down.
I want to pause here because what you're saying is significant. Because you wrote on Truth Social in 2023 that you're going to appoint a real special prosecutor to go after Joe Biden. Now you're saying you're not going to do that.
I will say this. No, I'm not doing that unless I find something that I think is reasonable. But that's not going to be my decision. That's going to be Pam Bondi's decision, and to a different extent, Kash Patel. Assuming they're both there, and I think they're both going to get approved. But while you ask me that, what they've done to me with weaponization is a disgrace.
We'll get to some of that,
No,
sir.
wait. You can't do one without the other. In the history of our country, nothing like this has ever happened. And I've won these cases. I've won every one, and the rest are in the process of being won. Deranged Jack Smith is on his way back to The Hague, where he can execute people. This is where he should have stayed. I think he's dangerous even being there. But I'll tell you what they've done to me in terms of weaponization, indictments, impeachments, and everything else. And in the end, it probably helped me because I got the biggest vote, the most votes any Republican's ever gotten in history.
Pam Bondi talks about investigating the investigators. Do you want her to investigate Jack Smith?
I want her to do what she wants to do.
Do you want to see Jack Smith investigated?
Well, I think he's very corrupt, but I want her to do whatever she has to do.
Are you going to direct her to prosecute
I'm not.
Jack
She's
Smith?
a very smart person. She was a great attorney general in Florida. She's very experienced. I want her to do what she wants to do. I'm not going to instruct her to do it, no.
Sir, are you going to fire the current FBI director, Christopher Wray, who you appointed?
Well, I can't say I'm thrilled with him. He invaded my home. I'm suing the country over it. He invaded Mar-a-Lago. I'm very unhappy with the things he's done. And crime is at an all-time high. Migrants are pouring into the country that are from prisons and from mental institutions, as we've discussed. I can't say I'm thrilled. I don't want to say. I don't want to. Again, I don't want to be Joe Biden.
I want to see the proof that these people are criminals. I want to prove it. Prove it. And they're not proving it because it's fucking lie. Because they're fucking wrong. There's not millions of people illegally coming into the United States. There's not even millions of people coming into the United States every single day. Because that's literally what he said. Was that millions are coming in illegally.
And give you an answer and then do the exact opposite.
We're going to talk about
So
that,
I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say is I certainly cannot be happy with him. You take a look at what's happened. And then when I was shot in the ear, he said, "Oh, maybe it was shrapnel." Where's the shrapnel coming from? Is it coming from heaven? I don't think so. So we need somebody to straighten. I have a lot of respect for the FBI, but the FBI's respect has gone way down over the last number of years.
Don't you have to fire him in order to make room for Kash Patel if he is in fact confirmed?
Well, I mean, it would sort of seem pretty obvious that if Kash gets in, he's going to be taking somebody's place, right? And somebody is the man that you're talking about.
Okay. Let's talk about Project 2025. This is the conservative policy blueprint. You disavowed it during the campaign. You called it a product of the radical right. You've said some of their ideas were abysmal.
I said some of it is. Some of it is very good. Some of it's very mainstream, actually. Frankly, the Democrats should have used some of it because they went, with all the transgender that they were doing or with the men playing in women's sports. Well, if they wouldn't have done that, maybe they would have done better.
Well, so you take me to my question. You're now giving people involved in Project 2025 prominent roles in your administration. Are you changing your mind about Project 2025? No. Is this now the policy blueprint for the second Trump administration?
No. Some people, if you take a look at the group, it was hundreds of people were involved. And I was actually, I reprimanded the whole group. I said, you shouldn't have placed this document in front of the voters because I have nothing to do with it and I'm the one that's running. You had no right to do this where you put a 1,000-page document in front. And many of those things I disagree with. Now, Many of those things I happen to agree with. Many of those things Democrats should have agreed to. And I think they would have done much better in the election because they got slaughtered.
Well, I guess people see the list: Russ Vought, Brendan Carr, Peter Navarro, John Ratcliffe, Pete Hoekstra, Monica Crowley, and they think these are all of the people who were involved in or writing Project 2025. This must be a blueprint for work requirements, eliminating the Head Start program, criminalizing pornography. Is that what we can expect to see?
Well, I don't know how they voted. I don't know. I never spoke to them actually about it. And I purposely, and I told you, normally it would be just the opposite. I'd review every page. I purposely didn't even want to see it. Because when somebody like you asked me a question about Project 2025, I can honestly say I've never seen it. I have nothing to do with it. I didn't read it. But I did hear some things in there that I would totally disagree with. And I said to the people that were really the people behind it, you know who those people are.
So what he means is I didn't read it, but I had somebody read it to me and I listened. I didn't read it, but I had somebody read it and I listened.
I said, you really had no right doing this to me because they used it as a soundbite, the Democrats. And I don't know, it couldn't have been too effective because they got slaughtered, but they did use it as a soundbite.
But to people who see, oh, he's bringing in all of these people from Project 2025, he must know what it is.
Well, you know what? I don't know what it is, no. I don't know what it is.
You still don't know what it is?
But I heard
All
certain
these people
things
are
that I
coming
didn't
in
like.
from your...
And by the way, I heard certain things that are phenomenal. Okay?
Like what?
Like law and order. We want law and order. Okay? Little things like, let's put prisoners in jail. Let's not let people come out and raid every drugstore in Manhattan so that we have to put glass up and every store is going out of business.
Let me ask you about something you've referenced a couple of times in this interview. I asked you last time we sat down for an interview if you were going to pardon yourself. You said no. But now that President Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter, are you reconsidering? Might you pardon yourself?
I didn't do anything wrong. I was given the option. And the lawyers told me, a very specific lawyer, I don't have to go into who, but very high up in the administration said, sir, if you pardon yourself, you're going to look guilty. And you did nothing wrong. Oh, I had that option. I could have saved myself a lot of legal fees. But it turned out that I was right. Look at what's gone on. Everything's being dropped. I still have a Fani Willis, a total hoax. That's a total hoax. It's all being dropped. It's all been discredited. It's been dropped. There are those people that say, and this would be the first time in history, that all of those fake indictments, they were going after a political opponent. There are those that say that I actually did better in the election because of it. Now, that would be a first. I think you would agree, because normally that's like you go back to the microphones, you say, I'm leaving right now, I will leave office, I'm going back to my family, and I will fight for my name. Well, I had to fight for my name in public because I didn't leave office. But no, I didn't want to pardon, and I didn't want to pardon myself. I had the option to pardon myself.
And you don't want one now? You're not going to pardon yourself now?
What do I need one for? First of all, I've won almost all of the cases.
What if President Biden...
And the ones that I didn't win are on resuscitation.
What if President Biden offered you a pardon? Would you accept it?
I've never even thought about it. I don't think he'll do it. Look, if he did, he's the one that started this whole thing. He got the Justice Department to go after me. And the state cases are all being run by the Justice Department, which is illegal. They had their people from the Justice Department work for Alvin Bragg in order to get something going. They worked for Letitia James in the state. He had his people go from the federal government and take lesser jobs in the state in order to get done.
And you know he denies he had anything to do with it.
No,
and
you can't deny it. You know why?
Yeah.
Because they were there. Wait a minute. Wait. You know, you have a tendency to sort of like slough over things. You just made a statement. His person, the top, maybe the third or second or third person, left the federal government, the DOJ, and went to work for Letitia James. And then, after they got that one started, went to work for the DA.
Let me ask you about some of this new reporting. NBC News is reporting that President Biden is considering giving preemptive pardons to the likes of Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, and Anthony Fauci. If President Biden doesn't issue those pardons, do you think they are going to wish that he had? Are they going to be pursued?
I can tell you this about Cheney, and she's a so-called Republican. I think she hurt the Democrats terribly. When I saw that Kamala put Cheney out on the campaign trail, I said, that's the end of Kamala. I really did. I thought it was a terrible move, especially if you're a Democrat. But Cheney did something that's inexcusable, along with Thompson and the people on the Unselect Committee of political thugs and, creeps. So the Unselect Committee went through a year and a half of testimony. Wait. They deleted and destroyed all evidence of that they found. You know why? Because Nancy Pelosi was guilty. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 troops. You wouldn't have had a J6 because other people were guilty. The people that said that I attacked two Secret Service agents in a car. I grabbed one around the neck. I was then rebuffed, and I grabbed the other one. These are two of the toughest men anywhere on the planet. They happen to be slightly younger than me, maybe, just a little bit. Let me just tell you.
So cute.
They testified. They said it was total.
Hold on. I have it pulled up.
And all of this stuff came out.
I'm going to have to rewind that because I really wasn't paying attention, but my cat's sitting, one of my cats is sitting over here with me, and she's literally so cute. And, hold on, because I can just, connect my phone to my computer really quick and show you. She's so cute, isn't she? She's such a sweetie. Her name is Hilala. She took my chair earlier, so I took the chair from over there. I have a bunch of laundry over there I would show you, but she's so cute. She just gave me some love bites. And she's telling me I should probably leave her alone, but I love her. She's so cute. Okay, we'll leave her alone. Let her take her little nappy nap. Oh yeah, there we go. Now I can turn this guy back on.
People lied so badly. They deleted and destroyed all evidence of that they found. You know why? Because Nancy Pelosi was guilty. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 troops. You wouldn't have had a J6 because other people were guilty. The people that said that I attacked two Secret Service agents in a car. I grabbed one around the neck. I was then rebuffed, and I grabbed the other one. These are two of the toughest men anywhere on the planet. They happen to be slightly younger than me, maybe, just a little bit. Let me just tell you. They testified. They said it was total. And all of this stuff came out. People lied so badly. Now, listen.
I see where I messed up.
This was a committee, a big deal. They lied. And what did they do? They deleted and destroyed a whole year and a half worth of testimony. Do you know that I think those people committed a major crime.
Sir.
And Cheney was behind it. And so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee. For what they did, honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think
I think everybody anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and your attorney general to send them to jail?
No, not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that, but I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill.
When you say that, it carries weight, though. You've tapped these people to lead the Justice Department and FBI.
They can do whatever they want.
Okay.
Biden can give him a pardon if he wants to, and maybe he should. Just remember, Unselect Committee, a year and a half of sworn testimony, and after getting all of the testimony, they deleted it, and they destroyed almost everything. There's nothing left. It's unprecedented.
And they deny
If you
doing
do that in a civil case, you go to jail.
You know they deny doing that. And officials say that the order never came in for the National Guard.
A statement.
On January 6th, let me ask you this about January 6th. I think
Benny
you're going to want to
Thompson
answer
wrote in a statement that he has destroyed all evidence.
Let me ask you this about January
amazing.
6th.
I wish you could be you have such potential. If you could be just non-biased, you hurt yourself so badly. I'm telling you, they delete.
If I was her, oh my God, the way she is like just so chill. And like, oh my God, it would be so hard not to like.
Deleted and destroyed all the evidence. Everyone knows it. And you slough it off like it doesn't mean anything.
No, I'm just saying they deny it. That's all I'm saying.
Kristen, if I did it, you would be standing up.
Burnout. We all experience it at some point. It's so important to me that I've actually been working on it in therapy. In fact, with the help of BetterHelp, I've learned certain tactics and strategies to begin creating that balance for myself. It can be really
up in that chair shouting at me, and you know what I'd do? I'd say, "You got me." They have done something so illegal. They have a committee sworn to, and because it was so bad, the only reason they did it is because the testimony turned out to be in favor of me. Like Secret Service testified and disputed everything. It made them into a bunch of liars. Not Secret Service, it made the people. They got rid of it because it made Nancy Pelosi, the mayor of D.C., so many people look like criminals. And I will tell you, it's illegal for them to delete and to destroy that evidence.
Let me ask you about January 6th in a different capacity, okay? I think you're going to want to answer this question. You promised to pardon those who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. Are you still vowing to follow through with that promise?
We're looking at it right now, most likely, yeah.
Well,
those people have suffered long and hard, and there may be some exceptions to it. I have to look. But, if somebody was radical, crazy, there might be some people from Antifa there. I don't know, because those people seem to be in good shape. Whatever happened to Scaffold Man? You know who Scaffold Man was? He stood on a scaffold telling everybody to go and nothing happened to him. Whatever happened to Ray Epps? Now, I don't know anything about Ray Epps, but it was sort of strange the way he was talking. Where is he? What happened to him? Because the people that did very little, they arrested an old woman because I don't think she did anything. They don't even know what she did. These people have suffered. Their lives have been destroyed. And yet in Portland, where they burned down half the city, they burn it down all the time. It's like a routine occurrence. They don't do anything. They attacked the courthouse, federal courthouse. They always say federal building. Okay. They destroyed the beautiful limestone exterior of the courthouse in Portland. They killed people in Portland. Seattle, people got killed in Seattle. Seattle, they took over a big chunk of the city. They took it over. They took the city away. Minneapolis, it looked like when they said this is a friendly protest, and yet over the poor slob from CNN, his shoulder, the entire city was burning down. It looked like World War II. Nothing happened. But wait, nothing happened. They took over the police statement. They took over the police station in Minneapolis. They burned it down. Nothing happened to anybody. And yet these people have been in jail, and I hear that jail is a hellhole. They've done reports, and you would say that's true. They've done reports. This is the most disgusting, filthy place. These people are living in hell. And I think it's very unfair. Most likely I'll do it very quickly.
Very quickly. Okay, but some of them, 169 of them, have pleaded guilty to assaulting police officers.
Because they had no choice.
900 pleaded guilty to other crimes. They're also going to be eligible for a pardon from you?
Listen, it's a very tough system. Do you know almost nobody? I saw people that didn't even go into the building and they were convicted. And you had the police saying, come on in, come on in. I mean, the police are saying, come on in, everybody, come on in. They had people... you have a lot of cameras. They don't want to release the tapes. They don't want to release the tapes.
So, but you're going to consider pardoning even those who've pleaded guilty to crimes, including assaulting police officers?
Well, sometimes they say, here's your choice.
You're not ruling it out.
Look, I know the system. The system's a very corrupt system. They said to a guy, you're going to go to jail for 2 years or for 30 years. And these guys are looking, their whole lives have been destroyed. For 2 years, they've been destroyed. But the system is a very nasty system.
Okay. Let's
I'm going to look at everything. We're going to look at individual cases,
Okay.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking first day.
Issue these pardons.
These people have been there, how long is it, 3 or 4 years?
Okay.
You know, by the way, they've been in there for years. And they're in a filthy, disgusting place that shouldn't even be allowed to be open.
Part of the reason why I want to do my agenda on the slides instead of sheets is because it's going to be too much to look through. I mean, I understand it's going to be similar with being right here, but I feel like visually it's going to be like a lot easier, especially when I'm on my phone. But I can still do other stuff.
Let's talk about your cabinet picks. I know we started off talking about Pete Hegseth, but I just want to return to that very quickly. Have you gotten assurances from senators that he's going to be confirmed? Do you think he can make it?
No, I think you will, yeah.
Because the reason why I say that is because, like, doing anything on here, even though it's linked, changing this doesn't do anything to that, which, like, not gonna lie, makes sense. But yeah,
I've had a lot of senators call me up saying he's fantastic.
You don't drink yourself.
No.
You've talked about how devastating drinking can be.
No.
How concerned are you that the person who you picked for this top job at the Defense Department, at least according to those who've worked with him, has struggled with drinking?
Well, I mean,
but I've spoken to people
Trump's
that know him very well, and they say he does not have a drinking problem. And, you know, he had a lot of knives out for him. A lot of people don't want to see the military made better.
Let me ask you about former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. You picked her to be the Director of National Intelligence.
Right.
In 2017, she had 2 secret meetings with Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. Do you have questions or concerns about those meetings?
No. And he's got bigger problems right now.
Well, do you think it makes it hard for her?
His country is collapsing.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it compromises her ability to handle that?
I met with Putin. I met with President Xi of China. I met with Kim Jong-un twice. Does that mean that I can't be president?
Well, when you were president, they weren't secret meetings.
Look, people meet. All these people meet. I mean, I see some of the most dishonest people. I'll tell you, the 51 agents that said that the laptop wasn't from Hunter, it was from Russia. What about them? Tell me about them. Do you think they did something wrong? Do you think they were all so stupid that they thought that the laptop from hell?
So you have confidence in Tulsi Gabbard?
I do. I mean, she's a very respected person.
Let me ask you about RFK Jr. He has obviously talked about his skepticism of vaccines. He's expressed opposition to childhood vaccines. Do you want to see childhood vaccines eliminated?
If they're dangerous for the children. Look.
So possibly?
When you look at some of the problems, when you look at what's going on with disease and sickness in our country, something's wrong.
Are you talking about autism?
Well, if you take a look at autism, you go back 25 years, autism was almost non-existent. It was, 1 out of 100,000.
Is that because maybe people weren't getting tested as often for autism 25 years ago? Is that maybe, just maybe, because people who were not initially, the initial people who were studied, so therefore kind of like what most people typically think of as being autistic, maybe that has something to do with it. Like, I don't know if I said, like, I feel like there have always been, like, the same amount of autistic people. It's just now we know more about autism. Now we know autism doesn't look like specifically only one specific way. It looks like multiple ways. Like, person A and person B can have autism. Both of them can have autism. And person A might acts one way and person B acts another way because they're two different people. Yeah, they have like same thing, like same diagnosis, but they're not the same person, so it doesn't show up the same way.
And now it's close to 1 out of 100.
Well,
I mean, what's happening? If they can find it. Now, I did something the other night that was a little unusual. At Mar-a-Lago, I called the drug company.
We're all about to be surprised. He's like, I called the company and I was like, you know what? I need to find out what these are. I know this is not what he's about to say, but he's going to be like, I know I called this company, asked them what's all these autism tests about, and I did a self-autism test, and I'm also autistic, so
But he's the top drug companies, and I called RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz and some of his people, and I said, let's all get together and let's figure out where we're going, because we're going to do a lot of things. Number one, we're going to reduce prices, because the middleman makes more money than the drug companies, in all fairness to the drug companies. There's a middleman that nobody even knows who they are. And you look at our drug prices, they're much higher than the prices for the same medicine, for the same stuff. So we met, and we met for a long time, and we talked about pricing, and we talked about vaccines, in terms of what happens. We talked about pesticides. We talked about everything. And I think a lot of good things are going to come from him. And he's not going to upset any system. He's not going to upset this. He's not looking to, to reinvent the wheel totally. But when you look at the numbers, we really don't have a very healthy country.
Well, sir, going back 25 years, studies show that there is no link between vaccines and autism. And yet it sounds like you are open to the possibility of him looking
I'm
at
open to
getting
anything.
rid of them?
I think somebody has to find out. If you go back 25 years ago, you had very little autism.
So basically
now you
what
have
I'm
it.
doing right now, for my agenda, is just getting all of my dates together. Right now I'm just doing the moon phases, so that way I already have all of this stuff worked down, because I already know for sure I'm gonna want to know when all of this stuff is, because basically I'm trying to go ahead and get it together for next year. I just need to decide if I'm gonna stick with doing it on sheets, or if I'm going to import certain things from sheets to slides. I feel like slides is going to look a lot better. It's going to be a lot easier to navigate. I'm not 100% sure. We'll see.
They say because they're better at identifying it.
So I'm going to take the night to think about it.
1 in 100,000, and now it's 1 in 100. That's a pretty bad number.
Childhood vaccines.
I mean, something is going on. I don't know if it's vaccines. Maybe it's chlorine in the water, right? People are looking at a lot of different things.
Childhood vaccines.
I want them to look at everything.
Everything. So childhood vaccines have prevented about 4 million deaths around the world every year.
I think that's great. I'm all for it. I think it's great. Hey, look, I'm not against vaccines. The polio vaccine is the greatest thing. If somebody told me get rid of the polio vaccine, they're going to have to work real hard to convince me. I think certain vaccines are incredible, but maybe some aren't. And if they aren't, we have to find out. But when you talk about autism, because it was brought up, and you look at the amount we have today versus 20 or 25 years ago, it's pretty scary.
Well, again, scientists say that's because they've gotten better at identifying it, and there's no link in
but
studies.
The drug companies are going to be working with RFK Jr., and he's been an interesting guy to me. I've watched him for 25 years, and he's been an interesting guy.
Let's talk about Elon Musk, another interesting person.
He's very interesting.
Last month, one of your allies said, quote, he's behaving as if he's a co-president.
Braun, come here. Help us, please.
Yeah, I will.
What's the ad for? Yes, this is going to be a game on my channel from now on. Whenever we watch stuff like this, it's going to be guess the ad. What's the ad for? Toothbrush.
All in my control now. Time for a nap.
Looks like the room just got bigger.
What do we do now? And why is the ad
there's
so
the remote.
Let's take care of him first.
It's not for a toothbrush. It's for medicine. You guys guess what it's for. It's just now, like, jumping in. What's the ad?
Watch out!
We can go ahead and skip it.
Is it jammed? What do we do?
Yeah.
No worries. Time to
What is
power
this
up.
ad?
Here I come.
Will you favor Elon Musk over other leaders of competitor companies like Jeff Bezos, Mary Barra?
No, Jeff Bezos called me. We're having dinner. As you know, Mark Zuckerberg came in. We had a really nice dinner. He asked to have dinner. I had dinner with him. I'm having dinner with everybody. People like me now. You know, it's something going on that people. I said, would you have come to dinner with me if I lost? I think the answer is no. You know, I said nicely, kiddingly, of course, because I don't want to sound foolish. But I say jokingly, would you have been here at dinner if I lost? And the answer was probably not. Look, I'm getting called by everybody. It's very interesting. It's different than the first. You know, when I won the first time, I wasn't near.
Because people are scared, brother. People are like, people who fucking know you are being like, let me get my ducks in a row. Let me really get my shit together.
Really as popular as this. And one thing that's very important in terms of the election, I love that I won the popular vote, and by a lot. If I didn't,
1.6%.
because they would go with the other one. They say, while he didn't win the popular vote, he won a lot of. You know, I won a lot of the Electoral College, but they would always preface it by saying, now they say he won the popular vote and he won the Electoral College and he won all 7 swing states. That was a great election.
Very quickly, because we're going to talk about the election coming up, but you've tapped Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, to head up this Department of Government Efficiency.
Correct.
Which proposes cuts to the federal government. I think a lot of people hear that and they get concerned about Medicare and Social Security and
Not
Medicaid
going to have anything to do.
and defense spending. You won't touch
theft,
Medicare, Social Security.
Abuse, fraud.
Okay.
No, I said to people, we're not touching Social Security, other than we make it more efficient, but the people are going to get what they're getting.
Okay, so the entitlements
And
off
we're not
the table.
we're not raising ages or any of that stuff.
Okay,
No,
off the table.
I won't do it.
Okay, let's turn to foreign policy. Should Ukraine prepare for less aid from the United States after you're sworn into
Possibly,
office?
yeah, probably. Sure.
You've said you can end the war in
We're in
24
for 350 billion, and Europe is in for 100 billion. Why isn't Europe in for the same as us? The one thing that should happen is that Europe should come in they should equalize. And, you know, Biden, all he had to do, like I did with NATO, I said, you got to pay your bills. They weren't paying their bills. And as you know, the Secretary General said, President Trump got 600 billion, now 640 to be exact. And I used to use the 400 billion number. He corrected me. He said, no, you actually got $641 billion put in, because I said you have to pay your bills. We were paying for NATO. And you know why I got the money? Because I asked for it. It wasn't that complicated. Europe is in for a fraction. And war with Russia is more important for Europe than it is for us. It's important for everybody, but it's more important for Europe than it is for us.
And you've said
we have a little thing called an ocean in between us.
You said you can end the war in 24 hours. You've even said you want to try to end it before you're sworn into office.
I'm trying to end it
You're
if I
actively
can.
trying to?
I am.
Have you talked to President Putin?
No, I have not.
You haven't talked to President Putin
No, I have
since
not.
you've been
You
elected?
mean, well, I don't want to say that, but I haven't spoken to him recently.
So you've spoken to President Putin since you've
I
been
don't
elected?
want to say that. I don't want to say anything about that because I don't want to do anything that could impede the negotiation.
But you
I want to
have
stop
talked
it.
about
Let me
the
tell you
other
what I
world
have talked
leaders.
about. Let me tell
Okay.
you. There are people being killed in that war at levels that nobody's ever seen before. You have to go back to the Second World War, and even that, if you take a look at, and you know what it is? It's the soldiers largely. The cities have been emptied out and demolished. The country has been demolished. If I won that election, which you know how I feel about it, I won't get into it because we don't need to start that argument. I think it's an easy argument. It was really proven even more conclusively by the win that I had on this one. But
you did get a court, sir. You
well,
didn't.
that's your opinion,
Yeah,
but I
okay.
disagree with it. Had I kept control, number one, Israel wouldn't have happened. Number two, Ukraine would have never happened. It would have never happened, Ukraine, Russia. But the number of people that are being killed, soldiers, young, beautiful soldiers, hundreds of thousands of people are being killed.
Why does it sound
and
like
it's very interesting. It's level. Totally level, the battlefield's totally level. You know what's happening? Yeah. The only thing that stops a bullet, you know what it is a body, a human body. And the people that are being killed, hundreds.
Or it not happening.
Hundreds of thousands on both sides. Russia's lost probably 500,000. Ukraine's lost higher than they say, probably 400,000. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of bodies laying all over fields. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and it should have never been allowed to happen. Biden should have been able to stop it.
Sir, will the United States stay in NATO while you're in office?
In where?
NATO. Do you commit that the United States will remain a member of NATO while you're in office?
Again, they have to pay their bills. If they pay their bills, absolutely.
But not if they don't pay their bills.
But NATO's taken advantage of us because we were look, two things. Number one, they take advantage of us on trade, meaning the European nations, okay, like terrible. They don't take our cars, they don't take our food product, they don't take anything. They take, it's a disgrace. And on top of that, we defend them. So it's a double whammy. So let me just tell you, I was able to get hundreds of billions of dollars put into NATO just by a tough attitude. I said to the countries, I'm not going to protect you unless you pay. And they started paying. And that amounted to more than $600 billion. That's a big thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be fighting. They wouldn't have any money to fight. If they're paying their bills, and if I think they're doing they're treating us fairly, the answer is absolutely, I'd stay with NATO.
But if not, you would consider the possibility of
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Let's turn to the Middle East now, sir. There are still American hostages being held in Gaza.
Yeah.
You said this week that if the hostages aren't released before Inauguration Day, quote, there will be all hell to pay.
Correct.
What exactly did you mean? And do you still think that the hostages are alive?
I'm not a big believer in the fact that there are too many of them living, sadly, because I've seen the way they've been treated. I talk about the young girl that was pulled by her hair violently and thrown into the back of a car like she was a sack of potatoes. And I said, you know, that's hatred. And then I said, how did that young girl do? Beautiful young girl just dragged by her hair. You remember, blood pouring all over her body. You can imagine the parents thrown into the back of a car by some horrible guy. And I said, how is she? She's dead. She died, sir. I don't think you have as many. I mean, I hate to say it. I think you have far fewer hostages than people think.
Really?
That's what I think. It's only my opinion, but okay. I've been right on just about everything.
Are you going to pressure Prime Minister Netanyahu, with whom you have a very good relationship, to end the war in Gaza?
Yeah, sure.
And have you already started that process?
I want him to end it, but you got to have a victory. People forget about October 7th. That was as violent. And you know what's happening? I noticed that a lot of people are saying, oh, it never really happened. That's like the Holocaust. You know, you have Holocaust deniers. Now you have October 7th deniers, and it just happened. No, October 7th happened. And I've seen the pictures. It is, what happened is horrible.
If China invades Taiwan on your watch, are you committed to defending Taiwan?
I never say.
Still won't say?
I never say because I have to negotiate things, right?
Can you just say if you'll defend it? I'm not saying if the U.S. military.
I'd prefer that they don't do it. I have a very good relationship with President Xi. We have been communicating with each other.
Since you were elected?
Yes.
And you sent that message?
Since like 3 days ago.
Say, yes, I'm going to do this.
Yes, we communicate.
And you sent that message to him, don't invade
We didn't talk about that. Okay. We talked about other things.
So,
but I have a very good relationship, and I hope he doesn't do it.
I feel like
this week, a federal court upheld a law that could result in TikTok being banned. You said you're going to rescue TikTok when you get into office. Are you going to take steps to protect it?
Yeah, and as you know, I used TikTok very successfully in my campaign. I have a man named TikTok Jack. He was very effective, obviously, because I won youth by 30%. All Republicans lose youth. I don't know why. Maybe it's changing. And last time we were down 30% with youth. This time we're up 35% with youth. And I use TikTok, so I can't really, I can't totally hate it. It was very effective. But I will say this, if you do that, something else is going to come along and take its place.
Exactly.
And maybe that's not fair. What they're doing, and really what the judge actually said was that you can't have Chinese companies. In other words, they have the right to ban it if you can prove that Chinese companies own it. That's what the judge asked.
So are you going to try to protect TikTok? Just very quick, once you're in office?
I'm going to try and make it so that other companies don't become...
I feel kind of silly for saying that, but I fucking love TikTok. And I spend so much time on there, like, finding recipes. Even, like, the latest thing that I've been, like, obsessively doing, like, crocheting. I learned how to crochet because of TikTok.
I'm an even bigger monopoly.
Okay.
Because that's what happens.
We're winding down, and I know you have a plane to catch.
I do.
This is your first interview since you won the election.
Congratulations.
Yes,
I hope
congratulations
you do
to
well.
you.
I hope you do well with it.
Yes, and sir, I don't have to tell you this because you've talked about it. It comes at a time when the country is deeply divided. And now you're going to be leading this country for the next 4 years. For the sake of unifying this country, will you concede the 2020 election and turn the page on that chapter?
No.
For a truly zero-pressure luxury selling experience, visit a diamond bank near you. We do one thing and we're the best in the nation at it, which is jewelry and watches. So find diamond jewelry, engagement rings, Rolex watches.
No, why would I do that? But let me just tell you, when you say the country is deeply divided, I'm not the president. Joe Biden's the president.
But you're going to be the president.
No. I'm not the president. So when you say it's deeply divided, I agree. But Biden's the president, I'm not. And he has been a divider. And you know where he divided it more than anything else, and it probably backfired on him, I think definitely, is weaponization. When he weaponized the Justice Department and he went after his political opponent, me, he went after his political opponent violently because he knew he couldn't beat him. And I think it really was a bad thing. And it really divided our country.
Sir, Democrats have control of the White House now. They didn't in 2020. If they are going around stealing elections, why
when you
didn't
say
they
Democrats have control now?
Of the White House.
Yeah.
So why didn't they steal this election? Since they have more power now.
Because I think it was too big to rig.
What the fuck?
So you won't...
Too big to rig.
To the people who say...
I'm glad she said it. I'm glad she said it because I keep thinking it and then I'll like be like, oh my God, I'm not doing anything on whatever the fuck I'm working on. But like, if the election was so fucking rigged, because the Democrats and the deep state and conspiracy and bullshit, then like, why didn't they just do that shit again this year? Why didn't they just do it again? I never got that fucking lotion. As soon as I finish this and get off, drowning my hands in some Aquaphor. Drowning. And I'm gonna get myself some flowers.
That you're now directing your Justice Department to investigate 2020, and they want to move on.
I have very capable.
I
think Pam is going to be great.
Precious resources.
By the way,
is that what you want them to do?
Just so you know, I have the right to do that, but I'm not interested in that.
Oh, you're not. You're not going to do that.
I'm not interested.
Okay.
I have the absolute right. I'm the chief law enforcement officer. You do know that. I'm the president. But I'm not interested in that. You know what I'm interested in? Drilling and getting price.
It's funny how just a second ago, when it's something negative, he's like, oh, I'm not the president yet. I'm not the president yet. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Biden's the president. He could have changed it. He could be doing something. Da-da-da-da-da. But then as soon as it's something good, he's like, well, I'm the president. I'm the president.
Prices down and stopping people from pouring into our border that come from prisons and mental institutions.
Last two questions here. One of the things that made this campaign unprecedented and extraordinary were the horrific attempts against your life. 2 assassination attempts.
Yeah.
Do you feel safe going into the White House
I
for
do.
the next 4 years? Why?
I have confidence in Secret Service. I know the people. I got to know a lot of them, and I have confidence. It was a bad moment. Something shouldn't have happened. But I have a lot of confidence, and they've really stepped it up. They were restricted from giving the... Look, I'd do a rally, and you were at many of them, and I'd have 50,000 people. Joe would have a rally, and he'd have 30 people. And he had more Secret Service than me. My Secret Service was always asking for more manpower / women power They were asking for more and more and more, and they couldn't get it. I'm not blaming them, really, because they were always fighting for more people, and they wouldn't get. Now, boy, do we have it.
I know it was hard on your entire family. What can people expect from the First Lady in this second administration? What role will she play? She obviously had her Be Best campaign.
She's very liked, loved, and she's very respected. And she's a very solid person. And she devotes a lot of time to helping children. You know what she does. And she's got her Be Best deal that is incredible what she's done.
As a woman,
the one thing
I stand for her. Hashtag free Melania.
Say, whether it's First Lady or my children, my children did such a good job, and they were treated very badly by the press and others. Ivanka was unbelievable what she did, and she all she wanted to do is one thing: get people jobs. She could have been the UN secretary. I said to her, she would have been unbelievable. She's got the whole package for that, including right up there. She's as smart as they. She didn't want. She said, "Daddy, I want to work on getting people jobs." You know, she'd go to Walmart, she'd go to X such a. She produced millions of jobs for people, not glamorous. Most people didn't know she did it, and she was always being excoriated. And I said to my kids, "Don't come in, don't come in." It's just
you said to them, "Don't."
I said to them, "Yeah."
But will you miss having them there? Will it feel different? They were your top advisors.
I'll tell you what, I'll miss them, and they're really competent. But I say, just go have fun, do your business, do whatever you want to do, but don't come in, because no matter what they did such a great job. Although I have to say, Lara did a phenomenal job as the head of the Republican National Committee, along with Michael.
What will the First Lady's role be, do you think? Will she continue her Be Best campaign?
She's a very elegant First Lady. She was a very successful woman before that, in the modeling and other things, but in the modeling, very successful. The press...
Yeah, because that's really
I can't say treated her unfairly. You know why? Because she's very popular. You would think if the press was unfair, like to me, the press was obviously unfair to me. The press, no president has ever gotten treated by the press like I was. And yet I got more votes than any Republican candidate in history. By far. It's not even close. So you say, what's that all about? The press has to straighten itself out, because honestly, it's lost all credibility. When that can happen, based on the press, I should have gotten no votes. None. And yet I got the highest number ever. And the reason is because I'm able to go on a show, even like yours, even though you're very hostile, I'm able to go on a show like yours. No, you are.
Well, hopefully you thought it was a fair interview. We covered a lot of policy ground.
It's fair only in that you allowed me to say what I say. But, you know, the answers, the questions are, you know, pretty nasty. But look, because I've seen you interview other people like Biden. And
I've never interviewed President Biden.
When I say you, I'm talking metaphorically. I've seen George Stephanopoulos interview Biden, and he's a tough interviewer. It's the softest interview. I've seen CNN interview him. They give these soft, you know, what's your favorite ice cream? It's a whole different deal. I don't understand why. You know, you would think the press would like to see strong borders, great education, a powerful military, so we have a country left, and all these different things. And somehow they don't want to see that.
Let me ask you, hopefully you think this interview was fair. We spent a lot of time talking about your policy in your second administration. I want to ask you, sir, one final question. What do you want to say to Americans who didn't support you in this campaign?
I'm going to treat you every bit as well as I have treated the greatest MAGA supporters. There's never been anything like MAGA in the history of this country. These people are so dedicated to making America great again. It's very simple. And I'm going to treat them just the same as I treat MAGA. We're going to treat everybody good. We want success for our country. We want safety for our country. You know, our country's under threat, as you know.
Right. Because if you voted for him, or if you didn't vote for him, and he wants to deport you, then he's still going to deport you. It doesn't matter if if you voted for him or not. If you're gay or if you're trans, he's still going to take your rights away, or try to take your rights away, whether you voted for him or not. So yeah, I mean, technically with that one, he's not lying. He's going to treat you just the same.
We have a tremendous threat militarily because of the power of weapons and weaponry. It's a tremendous threat. Nobody talks about it, but it's a tremendous threat. I want to treat everybody the same. I want to treat them well. And at the end of this 4 years, I have a big head start because I was there for 4 years fairly recently. A lot of bad things were done during the 4 years that I wasn't there. And mostly in what they've done in terms of our reputation overseas. Our reputation is so bad, so shot. I got to bring it back, and I also have to bring back civilization to our country. Our country is a crime pot, and we have to get rid of crime. We have so many things to do. We have to do the prices, we have to do all of that, but we have to get the criminals out of our country. We have to bring down crime. People have to be able to.
Just really quick, I hate this font so much that even just for the draft, I need to change it.
To walk across the street and buy a loaf of bread without being shot, and that's going to happen. But what I say to them is, I love you, and we're going to all work together, and we're going to bring it together. And you know what's going to bring it together? Success. I saw that just prior to COVID coming in, I had polls that were the highest anyone. McLaughlin and Fabrizio said, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, if they came back from the dead, and they ran as president and vice president, couldn't beat you, sir. We were doing so well. And I was getting along with the left. Let's call it the left. We'll be nice. Okay, we're just going to call it. But I was getting along with people that you would consider liberal or progressive, as they like to say, at levels that I never thought was possible. And you know what it was? Success. Success was bringing the country together, and that's what I want to do.
We'll leave it there unless you'd like to say anything more.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the honor of this first interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
The average person sees around 10,000 online ads daily. Here's how a man's life would change if he used Pi. Day 1, he would install Pi on his computer without spending a dime because it's 100% free. Day 2, he realizes how clean and clutter-free his browsing experience has been since he got Pi. He doesn't have to deal with annoying cookie pop-ups or targeted ads. Day 3, he can finally binge YouTube and Twitch without interruption because Pi works on every website you visit on Chrome. Day 4, he discovers that when
and collect ourselves. As far as my agenda goes, we did not get very much done. We at least got everything wrote out, like as far as part of the dates that I am gonna want on my agenda. As far as what we're going to be doing on my channel, we're still gonna be like watching, commenting on crazy shit that's happening with the government, because I don't think it is as hard to learn about this stuff as a lot of people make it out to be. This is something that I am interested in. This is also something that I feel like more people on the left need to be talking about. I don't really, there's a lot I need to learn, basically. Even just to be able to be like, on the scale, I'm this position, because like I know I'm on the left, but like I don't know like as far as where on the scale does what I think, where does that actually sit. So this is something I'm gonna be learning about live. I very much need to still work on my setup, because how I had everything set up today, can't see chat, can't see shit, not really a problem right now, but, you know, maybe I'll need to get something later on vertical and put it over there. That would definitely help, so I could have a chat somewhere else. But yeah. There's still a couple of basic things I need to do for my agenda. Like I still need to get all of the dates for all of the holidays I'm gonna want wrote down. I need to 100% decide, am I going to do it on here or am I going to do it on here? But yeah, that's basically it. I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm definitely going to be streaming tomorrow because I'm off. I need to look at my schedule and see when I'm going to be streaming again after that. I guess I can kind of go ahead and do that. But definitely on days that I'm not going to be like getting off super late, I'm going to be streaming from now on. Yeah, so I can definitely stream it on Friday. It says tomorrow, obviously, because it's 12 a.m. What's my schedule look like? Oh yeah, and I should be able to stream on Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. Sweet. We are getting life together, thankfully. But yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be chill. I also need to decide what else I'm gonna be watching and listening to. Part of the reason why I want to do this is because before any other elections happen, I feel like it's important to be talking about this stuff in between. I feel like that is, at least from the left's standpoint, part of the problem with what happened. I feel like we have not been talking about it enough, and I feel like there's not enough people, and all I can do is be another person who talks about it. So here I am, doing my favorite thing, not shutting the fuck up. So I will see you tomorrow to not shut the fuck up. Bye!